We're getting ready to ring in the 250th anniversary of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. Quite a scene down here today, approaching lunchtime. Let's see here. Let's see if we can flip this camera around. You get a look at where we are. You see the disc right by the square. The media set up, a lot of people. You've got some large inflatable figures. We're getting ready to go in just a couple minutes. Over here across the way, you can see the courthouse, the replica courthouse, where they're going to do the reading. You have a number of tables, merchants selling things. So we're here today, May 20th, 2025, 250 years after the signing of the Meck Dec, which is said to have taken place right here at Trade and Tryon Streets, that supporters and backers believe predated the actual Declaration of Independence that we all know from Philadelphia, predated that by more than a year, when a group of colonists upset about the Revolutionary War starting in Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts, got together, said we've had enough, and are said to have signed that Mecklenburg Declaration. Like I say, right here. Now, of course, there are skeptics who believe it didn't happen. That all of the evidence, they say, came decades later from recollections of people, and so it's one of those historical mysteries. But let's go ahead and walk around a little bit and give you a little bit of the scene about what we're looking at here. Now, there's our co-host Cristina Bolling. We'll get up with her in a second. We're walking over. We'll check it out. You can see we've got reenactors.
Some breweries you've got to have.
So we got reenactors like this gentleman here. We've got, we can assume, is Captain James Jack on the horse, right by the courthouse. You can see the reenactors with the script. Others right over here, getting ready now. They have closed off Trade and Tryon Streets to traffic. That rarely happens. But a lot of people out today. All right. And of course, what event would be complete without the Jesus Saves guy? We're going to go over here and take a look at some of these booths. We've got the John Locke Foundation, some golf tees. A lot of Charlotte Museum of History, of course, has a big exhibit that opens today about the Meck Dec. Got some beer koozies, looks like. Got people in red, white, and blue aprons. We've got the Park and Recreation. We've got the May 20th Society. A lot of people out uptown, people with their kids. A lot of people taking pictures, all kinds of memorabilia. We're going to head back over this way. Give you a little bit of a sense of you can see, obviously, the modern bank towers. Those weren't here 250 years ago. A lot different then. But a lot of people are really turning out today to see this event. So we're going to be broadcasting here. Again, I'm Tony Mecia with the Charlotte Ledger. Be broadcasting the event. We're told it should last about 45 minutes. After which point, we're going to move over to Settlers Cemetery. They're going to march over to Settlers Cemetery, see the grave of Thomas Polk. So again, quite a crowd. Yep. So I hear you, Vicki. The modern bank towers were not there even 50 years ago. We're just getting ready to start in a little bit. It's 3 minutes till 12. You're watching continuing coverage by the Charlotte Ledger of the 250th anniversary of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. We see Vi Lyles over there in the crowd, a number of dignitaries, Mark Jarrell, the head of the Mecklenburg County Board of Commissioners. I believe Mayor Lyles is talking to Paul Newby, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Joining me now is our co-host, co-anchoring today's festivities, Cristina Bolling.
Hello. Great day to be out here.
Cristina, what do you make of all this?
Yeah, there's a lot of energy for sure. A lot of people dressed up in revolutionary garb. Ran into Captain Jack on his horseback a minute ago, and the drums are starting, and I think that the big event is about to get started.
I think we're getting there, and if it doesn't start pretty soon, we're just going to have to fill a bunch of air. You and I talking about this Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence that we talked about before. I know, Cristina, you hosted a panel that we did at the Sharon Retirement Community that had some of the authorities on the Meck Dec, Scott Seifert, you have the May 20th Society,
Right.
And it is there's nothing that says I think definitively that it existed, but there's nothing that says it did. So that's kind of one of history's mysteries, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough when you don't have a piece of paper in your hands to be able to kind of prove that something exists. But as they talk about it, this is sort of a story that's been passed down through the generations. And Scott Seifert, I think, says it's an Occam's razor kind of thing. It seems logical that it did happen, and certainly everyone here that's gathered at Trade and Tryon seemed to be in that camp.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of enthusiasm today. You see a lot of the reenactors. I do see Jeremy Markovich asking, are they going to announce that they found it? Jeremy, that would be quite a revelation, and I would imagine you could read that. One of the early people to announce that would be Jeremy Markovich and his outstanding Substack publication, NC Rabbit Hole. I know he, of course, there's so much lore really to this story. I know Jeremy at his publication at one point turned it over to David Fleming, who's one of the other experts, big enthusiast of the proponent of the Meck Dec, who in his book, Who's Your Founding Father, chronicled the ride, the reenacted ride, I believe, from 50 years ago, where he had some promoters that hired a guy to basically reenact Captain James Jack's supposed ride from Charlotte up to Philadelphia, where he is said to have delivered the copy of the Meck Dec to the Continental Congress, but that the thinking goes that at the time, that was just a little too hot to handle, that they sort of swept that under the rug. And then, that, of course, a little over a year later, Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence that we all know, we learned about in school, that was adopted July 4th, 1776, of course. Now, the May 20th, 1775 date, of course, Cristina, is on the state flag, as well as the date of the Halifax Resolves, I believe, another early, forerunner to precursor, some would say, to the Declaration of Independence. But we appreciate everybody joining us today. I'm Tony Mecia. This is Cristina Bolling. You're watching continuing Charlotte Ledger coverage of the 250th anniversary of the Meck Dec. What do you think, Cristina?
Yeah, well, so one thing to note is that it's very unusual for Trade and Tryon Street to be shut down.
Let's take a look. You can keep talking. Let's go take a look.
This is a very unusual occurrence. It almost never happens. It's been, someone said to me, decades since Trade and Tryon was shut down for anything. So this is certainly, very monumental.
Hang on, Cristina, got to interrupt you. It sounds like there's a marching band approaching. We've got some folks dressed in colonial garb. I hear the drums. I hear the flutes. Let's take a look.
Hats are passing.
Yeah, let's see what we have. Yep. And it is just a minute past 12. They're right on time. They're punctual. Let's say that.
Lots of cell phones in the air. People capturing this. I would, but someone said don't do it. So this is my service in the Daughters of the American Revolution.
You're a woman in front of us for the Daughters of the American Revolution. You have a lot of the Daughters of the American Revolution, Sons of the American Revolution here today. This is obviously a big event in Charlotte history.
Yeah, a lot of the historical associations are here. Some of them have booths and tents where they're selling merch and telling people about what they do.
Oh, it's Clayton Sealey, Planning Commissioner Clayton Sealey. You're live on Substack and Charlotte Ledger. What brings you out today, Clayton?
I mean, Meck Dec, it's 250 years. It's kind of a big deal. The Meck Dec is real, and it's pretty awesome. I think people could have escaped out of that courthouse really easily.
Yeah, I knew they were doing I knew they were doing a mock courthouse. Yeah. I'm not sure they had that material back in 1775. No looks like a big tent, actually, but well, the band's starting up again.
Cool.
Yeah, what do you think of the scene, Clayton?
I think the scene is robust. There's people all up and down Tryon Street. I'd say there's at least 1,000 people here. People seem ready to believe in Meck Dec. I was talking to Mark Jarrell a minute ago. He said he got to listen to some of the declaration on WFAE at 5 a.m. this morning. I got to go in there.
I know WFAE is doing that's a new tradition. They've been hitting it hard. I know they had Marshall Terry out in Huntersville talking with David Fleming about the spring where the idea of liberty took root before they came down here and actually signed the declaration. And then Charlotte Talks this morning had a big back and forth as well. So
amazing. Well, in Charlotte, we're always behind. We're on trends, but this time we were early on a trend, and everyone else followed us. So,
and what event would be complete, like I say, without the Jesus Saves guy over in the distance? He certainly did have a number of influential people back then.
Supplier of noise pollution in downtown Charlotte. Sorry, uptown Charlotte.
Let's hope he can button it until the ceremony's done.
Luckily, right now we just hear piccolos and flutes, I think, and some trumpets. So that's a good thing.
Now, let's take a listen in. Got to say, Cristina and Clayton, it does look like redcoats over there.
Uh-oh. Are we in for some fighting about to happen?
There could be a mock skirmish here. Yeah, this event has been years in the planning. And I know in other big anniversary years, they've even had visits from presidents have come. I think 4 to 5 presidents have been here in Charlotte to mark this day.
Yeah, I think from Taft to Ford, back in the 70s, I think was the last president who visited. I think, from what I understand, they did make an attempt to get a former president here, or former presidents here, and not in evidence at the moment. Oh, back from the other way. Let's take a look over here. Go past the disc. We've got some of the colonists lining up as well. Of course, an interesting juxtaposition between the modern city skyline and the history. Just imagine what it was like here 250 years ago. Clayton, I know you certainly have an eye toward urban development. Any thoughts on sort of the juxtaposition between old and new?
I mean, we're standing at the square here where there is at least two historic structures in our kind of our sight lines.
What would those be?
That'd be the Tryon Plaza building, which is from the 1920s. It was once the tallest building in Charlotte. And then there's the Little Bank building directly to the left. I can't remember what it is called, but it is on the market, from what I understand. Okay. Those are the only historic structures we see here, but we do have these incredible 4 statues that are marking, some of our history.
Yeah, marking history and some of the progress too. So it's sort of interesting to see. I know, of course, across the way, the former Polk Plaza. Now you can see still under construction, getting a new design. They're putting, I think, a hornet's nest type of art up there. Going to be renamed McCall Park, of course, after Bank of America Chairman and CEO Hugh McCall.
Who turns 90 this year.
Turns 90. See up on the stage, I see City Council member Ed Driggs. Behind him is Mayor Lyles, Maura Quinn of Charlotte Center City Partners, Mark Jarrell of the County Commission. Not sure.
Thelma Byers-Bailey, I believe.
Oh, yes, Thelma Byers-Bailey, yes. The school board. And then, of course, Paul Newby, Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court. He's there in the red tie.
Talk about yesterday, Paul Newby's, what he worked on yesterday.
Yeah, I sat in yesterday, Cristina, at the federal courthouse. They're having a moot court competition among high school students who argued, the judges, distinguished judges, Paul Newby, the Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, as well as a couple federal judges. And it was an argument over whether the Meck Dec is real or not. And I'm happy to tell you the side arguing for its existence won. All right, looks like we're getting ready to start. We'll tone it down. We'll keep quiet. Well, maybe we're not, because the flutes and piccolos are picking back up. Cristina, now,
They are.
Cristina, you have some expertise in band orchestra matters?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Told to move out of the way. Don't want to block the TV cameras, of course. What is your analysis of the band situation here?
I mean, it certainly sounds like music that we might hear back in revolutionary times. I mean, I'm curious. I wish I knew where these musicians came from, but they certainly are, setting a great tone for the event today.
Yeah. Again, you're watching Charlotte Ledger's continuing coverage of the 250th Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence anniversary. Try and keep it down. I know a lot of people are recording. We don't want to step on what they're doing. Maybe we'll button it for a minute, Cristina. Let people soak in the sounds and the sights.
Sure, that sounds great.
Try and duck over here. Let's see if we can go around this disc. That's going to be tough. Try and get you the best vantage point that we can.
It's interesting to see the attire. There's some kind of reenactor costumes, and then there's also people just really decked out in patriotic aprons and just a lot of red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
The spirit of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You see people here come on their lunch hour, obviously working uptown. Others are probably making a day of it, bringing the kids down, soaking it all in. And I gotta say, it's beautiful weather. Feels great. Yeah, we got a clear view of the stage now. If they want to get started. You've got a hat on. Nancy, what your role is today? I'm doing a live cast here.
Yeah, hey, my name's Matthew. I'm on the board of directors of the May 20th Society, one of the partner organizations, of course, here for the celebration today. And I'll be saying a few words.
Roger.
I am Matthew.
Okay,
Right?
behind the glasses and the hat, Matthew. Tony, how are you?
Good. Oh, gosh, yeah, good to see you too. Yeah, sorry, I'm in my. I'm in my.
You're in the zone.
No, that's right. That's okay.
Former
so,
County Commissioner Matthew Ridenhour.
Yeah, so we're gonna say, I'll say a few words, and we're gonna celebrate May 20th and have a good afternoon here.
Perfect weather. Well, yeah. What do you think this? What do you think this date means?
Well, I think it means that it's a time for us to remember. As I'll say in my remarks, that May 20th is a time that we struggled in the United States and declared for freedom and independence, as many peoples throughout history have, but that we have to remember it regularly. We have to remember it and daily, really, in that struggle, because tyranny and oppression are always just outside the door knocking, and we have to remain vigilant in keeping freedom and liberty for our people today and for our children.
Good reminder. Thanks. All right. I don't want to interrupt you preparing for your remarks. But
Happy
to hear you. Good talking to you. Get that water bottle. Nice. Yep. See that? Yeah, he's up there. John Short, Ledger contributor, writes a lot of the history articles for us there on his phone. And a lot of others. Rick Rothacker over there, former banking reporter with the Charlotte Observer. Okay. I can tell you the guy, I believe, in the hat here on the stage is the federal judge, Frank Whitney. He was one of the judges in yesterday's moot court competition, which high school students argued whether the Meck Dec was real or not. He voted that it was. I understand he's a big Meck Dec believer, historian, as well as the man to his right on our left, Paul Newby, the North Carolina Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. We think we're a few minutes from getting started. Thinking it was a 12 o'clock start, but you know how these things go. Sometimes start a little later than you want. Let people file in. Quite a crowd over here. Look at that crowd. You can see the courthouse off in the background, the makeshift courthouse. I understand they're going to read the proclamation, the declaration. See people having lunch here, enjoying the day, and then sort of in the foreground, you have the reenactors over there on the right. Band breaking into Yankee Doodle. I think we're going to have the colonists.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could please have everyone stand who is able to stand, we will now present the colors. Color Guard Commander, present the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color Guard Commander, retire the colors.
Color Guard! Silver colors! Silver fireworks! Color Guard! Pride first!
You may be seated.
Or Quinn,
Thank you
Girls
to
Center
the
City.
Sons of the American Revolution for the presentation of the colors. And we want to say thank you also to the national president of the Sons of the American Revolution, Daryl Addington, who is here, who came and made the trip to Charlotte for this special occasion. So thank you, sir, for being here. We also want to thank the U.S. Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps from Fort Myers, Virginia, who performed for us. Weren't they great? Thank you. There were 12 performers today. Aaron Morgan was the drum major, so we thank them so very much for being here. Welcome to a very special day. This is the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. Yes! My name is Maura Quinn. I'm Chief Operating Officer of Charlotte Center City Partners. It's our pleasure to produce this event. I am also on the board of the May 20th Society. All board members, raise your hand. All board members who are here. Yeah, I see them in the back. You have many, many board members back there. Yes, indeed. Matthew Ridenhour is going to tell you more about May 20th Society shortly. I am wearing my DAR apron, if you were wondering, because I am a member of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. There are chapter of the DAR. My fellow daughters are here. Thank you for supporting this special day. So much has been happening and will continue to happen throughout the week. And it's going to be marking this special day in our history, and it really is special. We're going to tell you more about it coming up. So I want to thank all of our elected officials who are here, and they are on the stage with me. I want to recognize them. Mayor Vi Lyles is here. Councilmember Ed Briggs is here. He led us in the pledge, and he's going to help us with something else in just a moment. From CMS Board of Education, Liz Montgomery and Thelma Byers-Bailey are here. Thank you both so much. Chief Justice Paul Newby is here, so we're so glad to have him. And Senior Judge Frank Whitney is here as well. I did not. Mark Terrell from the County Commission is the chairman of the County Commission is here. I didn't have him listed because he's going to be speaking to us in just a second. So I want to ask Councilmember Ed Briggs to come up. I was honored to go to City Council and receive a joint proclamation from the city and county that honored the signing of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. I'm going to ask Ed Briggs to come up and read it to us, or at least maybe even read selected sections of it to talk to us about what it says in this declaration. It is very special, and thank you very much, Councilmember Ed Briggs, to come up and share this with us.
Thank you, Maura. I have to say, as a point of personal privilege, I had to get permission at home today to come here because my wife is British. She said, "You're fine, go ahead and celebrate, I'm over it." Anyway, I would like to read to you, actually, if I may, in its entirety, a joint proclamation of the City of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County. Whereas on May 19th, 1775, Charlottetown's founder, Colonel Thomas Polk, called for a convention of the Mecklenburg County militia leaders to be held in Charlotte. Whereas those 26 men, upon hearing of the battles of Lexington and Concord, which had occurred exactly 1 month earlier, unanimously adopted resolutions to declare themselves a free and independent people in a document that came to be known as the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence, or Meck Dec. And whereas at noon on May 20th, 1775, Colonel Polk read the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence from the steps of the county courthouse to the assembled citizens. And whereas on May 31st, 1775, members of the Mecklenburg Committee of Safety adopted 20 additional resolutions to directly govern themselves, which came to be known as the Mecklenburg Resolves. And whereas a local tavern owner named Captain James Jack was called upon to deliver on horseback these documents to the Second Continental Congress in Philadelphia, and whereas the state of North Carolina has chosen to recognize the significance of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence by placing the date of its signing, May 20th, 1775, upon our state flag and Great Seal, and whereas May 20th, 2025 is the 250th anniversary of the Meck Dec, Now, therefore, by Alexander Lyles, Mayor of Charlotte, and Mark Jarrell, Chair of Mecklenburg Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim this May as Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence Month in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, and call upon all citizens to join us in commemorating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence.
Thank you so much, Ed. That was awesome. So I'm going to invite our elected officials to have a seat, except for the mayor and chairman. I'm going to thank you so very much. We're going to hear from most of them. And Liz Monterey, how could I have said Montgomery? Liz Monterey, I know the difference. So I'm going to invite the mayor to come up and share some words. And then Mark, if you'll just wait a moment, because you are next.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Charlotte, North Carolina. I do believe that we have a lot of you who are coming in today, and we're just so proud that you chose us to be a part of this celebration. As you heard in the joint proclamation, today is a special day for our community, a day to reflect, celebrate, look ahead. You know, I came here to go to Queens College. So I want you to thank you so much. But, you know, I would like to say that I wasn't here in 1755. I know I might look like it. It was just a back council meeting last night, but that's all right. So as you know, our city's story began in 1755 when the first settlers arrived. Just 13 years later, we were officially incorporated as Charlottetown, not the mall, the city. And we were named in honor of Queen Charlotte of Mecklenburg, and she, at that time, Mecklenburg, yeah, got it. Okay, 6,200 people lived here. 10 years later, the town had grown to 83,000 residents, making it the largest city in the Carolinas. Fast forward to today, we are still leading the way. Charlotte is not only the largest city in the Carolinas with more than 935,000 residents, now ranks as the 14th largest city in the United States. Thank you. Thank you. So what's behind all of this incredible growth? We all believe that it's pretty simple. Charlotte is a great place to live. Every day, more than 50 people choose this city as their home, and over 117 people move to the region. That is a proud testament that we have to this community that all of us have built together. As we celebrate our present and plan for our future, I hope that we never lose sight of our past. We owe so much to those who came before us, those who took the chance, took the risk, who worked tirelessly, who laid the foundation for this Charlotte that we know and love. And we can look around this space today and really see the outcomes of that. Some built these skyscrapers, but other things that they did, they opened small businesses, they made neighborhoods possible. They actually started thinking about how do we have generational families in our community. We're very fortunate for that. Many fought, risking their lives to liberty and to stay a city and a community rooted in resilience, hope, and I still believe opportunity. So to all of you who came before us, or all of you who are here with us today, thank you. We are deeply grateful. And I know our work continues. As a community, we must carry forward the lessons of the May 20th forward. Let us honor the past by building a future that's even brighter, more inclusive, and more united. Thank you for being a part of our journey, and thank you for helping us carry the faith.
Let's give it up one more time for our great mayor, Mayor Vi Lyles.
It's Mark Terrell, chairman of the
Good
county.
morning, everyone. I'm honored to be here today as chair of the Mecklenburg County Commission. My name is Mark Jarrell, and I represent the 9-member board of county commissioners here. And, you know, when I think about the significance of this day, I'd be remiss as a proud veteran. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge and shout out all the veterans that are here today. Raise your hand so we can acknowledge you. Thank you. Thank you. As you all know, our county is vibrant and it's growing. In fact, the largest age group in Mecklenburg is between 30 and 34 years old, nearly 100,000 strong. That's just one example of the energy and momentum driving our community forward. And while much of our focus at the county is on shaping the future, we also take a lot of pride in our rich and our fascinating history. We actually, and I don't think many of us realize this, but we actually began as part of Bladen County in the 1740s. It was huge. And by 1750, we had split off and we became part of Anson County. And in 1762, we took a bold step, separating from Anson to become Mecklenburg County, named in honor of the Queen. And though we honored the monarchy in name, Mecklenburg and Charlotte, as you know, that honor was really short-lived. Just 13 years later, in 1775, we recognized that British rule, sorry to Caroline, Ed, had become oppressive. We were taxed without representation. British soldiers were killing our fellow colonists without cause. The people of that day yearned for freedom. They yearned for self-determination. And revolution became the only path forward. On May 20th, 1775, the leaders of Mecklenburg County and Charlottetown, they came together. They pledged their lives, their liberty, and their trust to one another and to their community. In these few short years, the people of Mecklenburg and Charlottetown, you won't believe this, but they earned a reputation. Unlike most communities, we weren't founded on a riverbank. We were established at the crossroads of two First Peoples trading paths. We were known as enterprising, savvy traders, and I would say we still are. We were also known as a hornet's nest of rebellion, and we proudly still are. We commemorated that spirit of defiance May 20th, 1775 on the official seal of Mecklenburg County. It's flown over every county flag since the Revolutionary War. It's also emblazoned on our state flag and the Great Seal of North Carolina. So today, we are proud to mark this extraordinary 250th anniversary with all of you and with our distinguished guests. So thank you, everybody, and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Mayor. We appreciate both of you so very much. It is now time to bring up Matthew Ridenhour, a dedicated member of the board of directors of the May 20th Association, the May 20th Society. Come on up, Mr. Ridenhour.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Charlotte, and welcome to your annual celebration of the signing of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. My name is Matthew Ridenhour, and on behalf of the May 20th Society, I'd like to thank each of you for being here today and helping us honor and remember this important day in American history. Not just Charlotte history, American history. Now, today in my remarks, I'm going to say huzzah a few times. When I say that, I'm going to need you to reply back, huzzah. Huzzah? All right. We're also very honored today to have with us descendants of the signers of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. If you are a descendant of one of these distinguished signers, please raise your hand so we can recognize you. Huzzah! Thank you so much to Michael Smith, Maura Quinn, Robert Plumbine, and the entire Center City Partners staff who put in countless hours in preparation for today. We could not enjoy the celebration without all of you, so thank you very much. Huzzah! Huzzah! And a special thank you to the John William Pope Foundation, John Locke Foundation, Chief Justice Paul Newby, Federal Judge Frank Whitney, the Mecklenburg Historical Association, and our local Daughter of the American Revolution and Sons of the American Revolution chapters, without whose financial support, volunteer hours, and consultations, we would not be able to have such a wonderful celebration today. Huzzah! Huzzah! Free and independent. Those are the words penned by the authors of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. We use words like freedom and independence and liberty often. But what really do they mean to us? What really does it mean to be free and independent? Do we think about what they mean to us as a society and what they mean to us as individuals? The weight that those words carry, the responsibilities that they convey. In 1967, then Governor Ronald Reagan stated in his inaugural address, "Freedom is a fragile thing and is never more than one generation away from extinction. It is not ours by way of inheritance. It must be fought for and defended constantly by each generation. For it comes only once to a people, and those in world history know that those who have known freedom and lost it have never known it again." May 20th, 1775 was not a singular event in world history. It was rather one generation's fight to be free and independent, the eternal struggle of humankind against tyranny and subjugation. The eternal struggle. From the Israelites being led out of Egypt to the Spartans at Thermopylae, from the Battle of Tours to the Battle of Vienna, from the Underground Railroad to the Velvet Revolution. Every generation must choose its path towards freedom and independence or towards oppression and chains. And so now that burdensome choice falls upon our shoulders. Will we carry the banner of freedom forward, or will we decide that her weight is too heavy? Her responsibilities are too great. What does free and independent mean to you? It is your birthright as an American, signed for in ink, yet paid for in blood. But you and I have to actively work to maintain it, to continually stoke the brush fires of freedom. I would encourage you, friends, that when dark clouds are on the horizon and the world seems to overwhelm you, when tyranny and authoritarianism seem to be knocking at the door, lift high the banner of May 20th. Lift high your banner of freedom. When all others fall away around you, you press forward. You press on towards liberty. You press on towards independence. Not just on May 20th, but every day with renewed spirit. Huzzah! Huzzah! And once more, on behalf of the May 20th Society, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. You've really made this a very special occasion. Happy Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence Day to you all. Thank you.
And you can see why we chose Matthew to carry the May 20th banner. So thank you, Matthew, so very much. It is now my pleasure to introduce Judge Frank Whitney. Frank's family is well known here in Charlotte, but Frank has built his own legacy. Frank's a lawyer, he has an MBA, but he's also known by many of us for his extensive legal career and service in the U.S. Army JAG Corps from 1982 to 2012. Count those, 30 years. He was the first federal judge to preside over courts-martial in a combat theater. He oversaw the final court-martial in Iraq before the withdrawal of U.S. troops. Today, he is the senior U.S. District Court Judge for the Western District of North Carolina. Frank, we are proud of you and your accomplishments. Thank you for being here. And thank you for all you are doing with Meck Dec. And he is a proud Board of Advisor member. Come on up here, Frank Whitney.
Huzzah! Huzzah! What a great day! I am Frank Whitney. I am humbled by what Laura just said. I'm up here because I understand from a personal basis what the signers of the Meck Dec went through. Because I am lucky to be a descendant of John Ford, one of the original signers. John Ford spelled three different ways, depending upon which version of the Meck Dec you're looking at. So let me tell you about how we are here today, what brought us to trade and Tryon. In the mid-18th century, a new breed of colonists were immigrating from the frontiers of North Carolina. And yes, Charlotte was the frontier back then. Many of them had traveled from the Old World, specifically Great Britain. They had fled Scotland so they could worship in their Presbyterian manner without the restrictions of the Church of England. But in Ireland, they still did not have the religious freedom they sought, so they looked west across the Atlantic Ocean to the 13 colonies. They'd heard of the religious independence achieved by the Puritans, the Quakers, and the Catholics. And for decades, they slowly migrated across the sea and ended up primarily in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. But many of them also ended up in Somerset County in Maryland. Somerset County is Maryland's most southern county on the western coast of Delmarva, which is where John Ford's family went before they came south. Here, John Ford met the Pope family, Thomas Pope, and has either moved with the Pope family south or recommended John Ford, the Pope family, recommended him to go south, which he did. He and the two brothers came across the sea, and according to family tradition, once they arrived, they had families. And apparently, they believe that in 1727, John Ford was, his parents left the British Isles to avoid English military service. And we don't know whether Ford himself served, but we do know that was part of his goal in life. When Ford first set out from Maryland to come south to western North Carolina, the Fords migrated through Virginia and eventually moved further south until they reached the North Carolina, central Piedmont, North Carolina. Though John moved to Rowan County temporarily, he left there to move back west, and that was partly on the encouragement of the Governor William Tryon. Yes, that's the Tryon on the street here now standing. So although John Ford was a vigorous Presbyterian, and that's one reason we have so many Presbyterian churches in Charlotte, he also was appointed by Governor William Tryon to be a vestryman for St. Luke's Parish of Church, the Church of England in Salisbury. That seemed to be inconsistent with his faith that he was taking a job from the royal governor. Nonetheless, he knew the reality of the situation. If you wanted to have just certain basic privileges, for example, a marriage license, you were supposed to be a member of the Anglican Church. He defied that as others. It was the beginning of their emotional concern, their vigor for their religious freedom. They knew that if they were, even as they came west, they were facing Anglican oppression. They overcame that through becoming a part of the community. John Ford was a very smart businessman. We would call him upper middle class or higher than that. He purchased property quite frequently and sold property. In fact, he purchased 7 lots right here on Tryon Street. He also purchased 395 acres from Lord Augustus Selwyn, which means some of you might be at Augustus Selwyn's bar tonight having a good time. And he purchased other pieces of land adjoining this region, including land in the Galpan Creek. He became a surveyor by profession. He used his surveying talents with his business acumen to develop properties throughout the region. He purchased 85 acres in one deed and 10 in another. He was found in the records of the Clear Creek militia to be a sergeant. And something near and dear to me, his primary profession was he was a justice of the peace, a lawyer and a judge. As Justice of the Peace, he was involved in legal matters that took him and lawyers up and down the road from Charlotte to Wadesboro. That road was where the two courthouses, our courthouse and the Wadesboro courthouse, existed, set. And he laid out the path of what now is called Lawyers Road. So, John Ford joined the other great men who went into that courthouse and defied the crown. When they defied the crown, they knew they were committing treason. And the punishment for treason was death. John Ford was a man of some means. He did not have to sign that document. He could have peacefully lived an affluent man. But he put his life and his family's life on the line for liberty. And today, that is why we celebrate here Trade Triumph, because this legacy of Scotch-Irish traveling from Scotland to Ireland to Pennsylvania and Somerset County, Maryland, and coming here. Now, one of the best pieces of evidence that there really is a Meck Dec, because we have a lot of naysayers out there, is that we as a community for the last 250 years have celebrated Meck Dec. And it has been a great celebration. Four presidents of the United States have come here and either spoken in this corner or Freedom Park. Taft, Wilson, Eisenhower, and Gerald Ford. They came here because they understood the spirit of liberty. Billy Graham has spoken at least twice at events like this. When Eisenhower appeared, 40,000 people attended at the Freedom Park amphitheater. When Ford came, schools were let out, and the Charlotte Observer estimated 100,000 people were at the Freedom Park amphitheater at one time. 100,000 at one time. That is the most powerful expression of the love of freedom, is by the actions of you coming here today and other citizens of Charlotte Mecklenburg through the years to celebrate the Meck Dec. Thank you.
Federal District Court Judge Frank Whitney. A little bit of a history lesson.
I had the honor to introduce a very close friend of mine and someone who is a wonderful native North Carolinian from Greensboro originally. The Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court is the highest judicial official in this state. Although I like to needle him a little bit, the federal judges sometimes confront that. But he's a scholar of the law. He is the leading scholar with Professor John North in Chapel Hill, UNC Law School, on the North Carolina Constitution. He is the man to go to if you have questions about that document. So I introduce Paul Newby. This is the Chief Justice.
Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, Paul Newby.
Well, good afternoon. What a treat it is for my wife, Macon, and for me to be here in the great state of Mecklenburg. Top yellow ribbon on the state flag. How many North Carolinians have no idea what that is? Our state constitution since 1776 has reminded us a frequent recurrence to fundamental principles is absolutely necessary to preserve the blessings of liberty. Folks, we need to recur to those fundamental principles. In preparation for this 250th celebration, Scott Cypher and I conspired to put together a statewide high school moot court problem to let high school students from across the state debate the authenticity of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. Yesterday, thanks to Senior Judge Frank Whitney and the fine folks of the federal courthouse, we held those finals at the federal courthouse the Bob Potter courtroom with the final two teams who had advanced through the regionals and the semifinals. And folks, I got to tell you, the kids were amazing. They had learned so much North Carolina history. And guess what? Their parents had too. There were so many folks who came up to Macon and me and said, we had no idea that there was a Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. We hadn't even noticed the yellow ribbon dates on the state flag. So folks, we all need to be ambassadors for the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. Why? Why do we need to do that? One of my favorite TV shows started, return with me now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. Let's do that. Look at this painting, which I love, and ask yourself, they're declaring themselves a free and independent people. At what cost? At what price? When they did that, that's treason, punishable by death and confiscation of property. Why would they do that? They did it because this, okay? Generally, throughout the history of the world, you had a king, and they told you what your rights were. You could disagree, and that caused you to die. But over time, thanks to the Magna Carta and other British documents that are there, we can thank your wife for that, that power was somewhat limited. But here was the social contract that everybody agreed to. The king provides protection, and we, the people, provide loyalty. What happens if the king breaks that contract? Time and again, the king and his royal governors had cheated the people of Mecklenburg County of their rights. Time and again. So they got together to talk about the dire circumstances on the evening of May the 19th. And they gathered here at this courthouse. And as they were gathered there, a rider showed up from the north. And he had this amazing news. He said, folks, y'all aren't going to believe this, but King George, our protector, has now become King George, our persecutor. He has killed his subjects. He's not only not protecting them, he is killing them. How will the folks in Mecklenburg respond to that? What should be the proper response when the king has broken the contract? We too no longer owe loyalty to that. They stated famously these words: we do hereby declare ourselves a free and independent people, that we are and of right ought to be a sovereign and self-governing people under the power of God, and also that of the General Assembly of the Peoples. To the maintenance of which independence we solemnly pledge to each other our mutual cooperation, our lives, our fortunes, and our most sacred honor. As we know, the history of the Revolution, so many of these folks went through so much, losing, indeed, so much of their property during that period of time. When John Adams heard these words that I've just read to you from the Mecklenburg Declaration, he said this: the genuine sense of America at that moment was never so well expressed before or since. It was captured, as we see here, by the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. Today, what do we celebrate when we celebrate the Meck Dec? We celebrate self-government under the power of God. In fact, we said it as we said our Pledge of Allegiance at the very beginning: one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all. Under God's grace, may it be. Thank you.
Paul Newby, the Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, in his remarks. We have the head of the May 20th Society, or I'm sorry, Trail Street now approach.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kendall Kendrick. I am the executive director of the Charlotte Trail of History and the Charlotte Liberty Walk. You're all actually sitting on the Charlotte Liberty Walk, so you're welcome. We have these two projects that are dedicated to preserving and sharing the stories that shaped our city and our country. So it is quite an honor to be here amongst you all. I'm not sure if we've had a crowd like this since 1976. So thank you so very much for being here. We are quite honored. 2 years ago, I spent a day in one of my favorite places, the UNC Charlotte Special Collections Department at the Atkins Library. And that's when I came across the story of a man named A. Grant Whitney, who quickly became an inspiration. Though he's no longer here with us, he's become an unexpected mentor to me. Mr. Whitney served as chair of the Charlotte Mecklenburg Bicentennial Committee for the 1975 to 1976 celebrations, one of which took place right here, right where we sit. And it has for 250 years. So today I have the honor of serving as chair of the America 250 Mecklenburg County Commission, planning our local contributions to this once in a generation milestone, the 250th anniversary of the United States. And when I met my now friend, Judge Frank Whitney, I told him that his father was the reason that I took on this role. As someone born in 1976, a bicentennial baby, I hope to carry his father's legacy into the semi-quincentennial. My ancestors were the Alexanders, early settlers of this village, and several among them signers of this bold and early step toward liberty. Their actions came more than a year before the Declaration of Independence. They risked everything to stand up to tyranny, and as their granddaughter, I'm here to honor their courage and sacrifice. When people question the legitimacy of the Mecklenburg Declaration, I remind them who these people were. These Scots-Irish Presbyterians weren't afraid to fight for what they built. They were the grandchildren of those who fled Scotland for a promised better life in Ulster, Ireland. When the king offered more of the same, they took an even greater risk, sailing across the ocean for a different life in Maryland and Pennsylvania. And once again, a distant and unyielding government forced them to seek a long-term solution. They fled to the backcountry wilderness. They built a town and named it for a queen, hoping to maintain peace with the king. So now let's step back in time, 250 years to that fateful spring day in 1775. Imagine Charlottetown as it was then, a frontier village, restless with tension and uncertainty. Ordinary people going about their daily lives in the town square, unaware that word of bloodshed between British soldiers and colonial farmers in Massachusetts is about to arrive. And with it, everything changes. Let's return now to that moment to the courthouse.
Hey, there you go. Man, that's Thank you.
Awaiting the official reading of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence from the steps of the makeshift courthouse. This is where the courthouse would have been 250 years ago, right here on the Great Tryon. Much different. It was much different then, a lot smaller. Early settlers who were upset about the British royalty. That we know, that is definitely established. Now we're just waiting for the, like I say, the reading of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. It would have been 250 years ago today. So I know it's hard to see from back here. I know we have a number of people dressed in colonial garb. Now we've got a horse. Now what is said to have happened is read as a proclamation. And Captain James Jack took the document up to Philadelphia to the Continental Congress. James Jack, of course, statue of him on the Trail of History, coming into Uptown right there on 4th Street by 277. His name is also famously on Captain Jack Pilsner, old Mecklenburg Brewery beer. Let's see, we do have police making their way through. I need a piece Well, Cristina, we're here waiting for the declaration to be read. What's your impression of what you just saw?
There were some inspiring words. There were definitely stories that I had not heard before. Yeah, it's unclear. I guess maybe we're going to be seeing Captain Jack ride off on his horse here shortly.
I think that's likely. Sure, what the is, but we can wait and see. Let's go check it out. Yes.
The delegates appointed a committee to draft a declaration of intent. This declaration, expressed in 5 resolutions, was submitted to the delegates at 2:00 in the morning. The full delegation discussed, deliberated, and considered the inherent dangers of this action. Finally, by unanimous consent, they ratified this declaration at noon on this day, the 20th of May. Let us now hear the words of freedom ring throughout the land.
Citizens of Mecklenburg County, assemble! Citizens of Charlottetown and Mecklenburg County, assemble! Over the course of the evening, the delegates met, discussed, and deliberated the matter of where and when to our intent, declare our freedom. I hold in my hand a series of resolves to that effect. And this begins the first. Resolve that whosoever directly or indirectly abetted or in any way, form, or manner countenance the uncharted and dangerous invasion of our rights as claimed by Great Britain is an enemy to this country, to America, and to the inherent and innate rights of man. Resolved
of Mecklenburg County do hereby dissolve the political bands which have connected us to the mother country and hereby absolve ourselves all allegiance to the British Crown and abjure all political connection, contract, or association with that nation who have wantonly trampled on our rights and liberties and inhumanely shed the innocent blood of American patriots and Lexington. Huzzah!
We hereby declare.
And I'm right on a sovereign and self-governing association under the control of the power of the United our God and the general government of the Congress, to the maintenance of which independence we solemnly pledge to each other our mutual cooperation, our lives, and our most sacred honor. Huzzah! Resolve that as we now acknowledge the existence and control of no law or legal officer, civil or military, within this county, we do hereby ordain and adopt as a rule of life all, each, and every former laws, where nevertheless the crown of Great Britain never can be considered as holding rights, privileges, immunities, or authority therein. Huzzah! And resolve that it is also the decree that each and every military officer in this county is hereby reinstated to and appointed. He acting conformably to these regulations, and that every member present of this delegation shall henceforth be a civil officer, a justice of the peace, in the character of a committee to issue, process, hear, and determine all matters of controversy according to said adopted laws, and to preserve peace and unity and harmony in said county, and to use every exertion to spread the love of country and
Fire of freedom throughout America.
be established in this province. 3 cheers.
3 cheers for liberty.
So it was on May 20th, 1775, that the citizens of Mecklenburg County boldly declared independence more than a year before the Continental Congress. Some may debate the details, but none question the courage. They lit a spark, and the fire of liberty spread. 11 days later, on May 31st, the spirit of that declaration was refined into action. The people of Mecklenburg knew that words alone were not enough. They needed structure, they needed order, and they needed to prepare for what lay ahead. And so, the Mecklenburg Resolves were adopted. 20 bold statements that severed ties with the British Crown and laid the foundation for self-governance. Today, we share just 5 of them, words that echo through time with the same clarity and conviction. Let us hear them now. This day, the committee of this county met and passed the following resolves. Whereas, by an address presented to His Majesty by both Houses of Parliament in February last, the American colonies are declared to be in a state of actual rebellion. We conceive that all laws and commissions confirmed by or derived from the authority of the King or Parliament are annulled and vacated, and the former civil constitution of these colonies for the present wholly suspended. To provide in some degree for the exigencies of this county in the present alarming period, we deem it proper and necessary to pass the following resolves.
That all commissions, civil and military, heretofore granted by the Crown to be exercised in these colonies are null and void, and the Constitution of each particular colony wholly suspended.
That the Provincial Congress of each province, under the direction of the Great Continental Congress, is invested with all legislative and executive powers within their respective provinces, and that no other legislative or executive power does or can exist at this time in any of these colonies.
As all former laws are now suspended in this province, and the Congress have not yet provided others, we judge it necessary for the better preservation of good order to form certain rules and regulations for the internal government of this country, until laws shall be provided for us by the Congress.
That these resolves be in full force and virtue until instructions from the Provincial Congress regulating the jurisprudence of the province shall provide otherwise, or the legislating body of Great Britain resigns its unjust and arbitrary pretensions with respect to America. Huzzah!
Federal Judge Frank Whitney.
And finally, the 20th resolve, that the committee appoint Colonel Thomas Polk and Dr. Joseph Kennedy to purchase 300 pounds of powder, 600 pounds of lead, 1,000 flints for the use of the militia of this county, and deposit the same in such place as the committee may hereafter direct. Please turn your attention towards the courthouse.
No longer subjects of the British realm.
We are free. He's given the declarations of Captain James Jack, an innkeeper.
Slows the whole thing down. Yeah, very right. I know. Oh. What's up? Already on the clear.
Thank you all so very much. Thank you very much.
Charlotte Center City Partners.
So we bring everything. We bring muskets. We bring cannon fire. We bring the resolves. We bring Captain Jack on a horse. We bring history. I tell you, the Meck Dec 250 is full of adventure. And we bring you. Thank you so very much for being with us as we remember and celebrate our revolutionary history. Our commemoration is not quite over. Our reenactors, our DAR, our SAR, and our musicians will now lead the way to Settler Cemetery. It's the resting place of so many of our founders, those who founded our city, founded Charlottetown. They are the ones who settled our community. They took that risk. They signed the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. These are the names we see on buildings, on churches, on plazas, and street signs. We invite you to come along and lay this wreath in their honor and their memory. Thank you again for joining us today, and we will do this again next year. Thank you.
All right, Tony Mecia here with Cristina Bolling and Charlotte Ledger. We've been live here for the last hour and 15 minutes or so. Quite an exclamation mark to end it there, Cristina.
Yeah, I mean, my heart kind of skipped a few beats. It was a very Charlotte moment where there's construction workers doing work on the new McCall Park, and you got these reenactors, reliving a moment from 250 years ago. It's quite a
it is. Well, let me see John Short here. John Short's our history correspondent. John, live.
Happy Meck Dec Day.
Happy Meck Dec Day to you. What do you make of the big celebration?
Oh, it's great. It's great to be out here. I thought the words and thoughts shared were appropriate for the magnitude of the moment. It's Charlotte's come a long way with the sweet green in the background. Behind
the light red or the streetcar rather.
There's some nice
coming through, the police cars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
250 years.
British coming with the police cars. Yeah.
But yeah, you got J.R. Reed, ministers and stuff where all the cars are out. But yeah. That was great.
John was just on a panel with us at the Sharon and South Park talking about Meck Dec with Scott Seifert and Ken Henry we heard today. Just here at John writes our historical heavyweights feature in the Ledger, and
I do. Good. Are you from?
Yeah, exactly. It's great to see all of you kind of celebrating the story. I think if you listen to this podcast, I would talk about how, whether you believe the document exists somewhere now or never existed, it kind of doesn't matter. Celebrations like today, it's kind of celebrating the spirit of the founders of Mecklenburg County. A lot of the ancestors of whom are here today to celebrate. So that's what it's all about.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I just like that point a lot. That you can look at the evidence and you can be persuaded one way or the other, but it's undeniable that there's this part of the fabric of who we are really in Charlotte. It's been celebrated for a couple hundred years, and whether it's historically verifiable or what degree of verifiability, what degree of proof you need, it doesn't really matter. But you've got days like today where we're coming together really as Charlotteans, but residents of Mecklenburg County, to celebrate that revolutionary history. They can go a full year plus ahead of everybody else celebrating it. Up in Philadelphia, 250th of the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I forget whose comments they made, but the Meck Dec was ultimately about legacy, and the founders of Charlotte wanting to leave a legacy of a new place to kind of worship the way they wanted, raise their family, educate their family the way they wanted. And those ancestors, they set out to do the Meck Dec, believe the document exists or not. Those people are here, like the descendants of the people that fought independence, which is true because of the results, which is May 31st. So that part is true. They sought independence and got a freedom to raise their families, the people of whom are here right now. So I think that's pretty cool about today.
Well, I think that's a good place to end it. I know everybody's walking over to, a lot of people are walking over to Settler Cemetery. We're not going to, I think, join for that portion. We've been going long enough, but hopefully gave you a little bit of a flavor of what it's like down here at Trade and Triumph. For those of you who couldn't make it out, didn't make it out on your lunch hour, just wanted to see a few highlights. We will have this. This will be posted on our website. We'll make a reference in the newsletter tomorrow. You can find out more about the Charlotte Ledger at thecharlotteledger.com. We've got newsletters. We've got podcasts with people like John Short, talking about all things Charlotte. So I think that'll do it. I'm Tony Mecia.
Cristina Bolling.
John Short. We're going to sign off. Thanks for joining us.